Hi everyone. I'm here today to describe my war plan for my thesis, Ragsnarok. By the end of next semester, I intend to produce 4 branded t-shirts that depict deities from Norse mythology that happen to have disabilities. I'm going to build a brand and logo, illustrate the designs for the shirts, and source the shirts. Next, I'm going to learn screen printing to fix the design to the shirt. Then the shirts will be available for purchase via a website that I have built, including photographs of the finished shirts. Finally, a portion of the proceeds from the sales will be given back to charity for a specific disability. The purpose of this project is to depict disabilities in a positive light and not as a burden or a tragedy. There are other brands out there that make clothing for disability awareness, but the messages are blunt cliches that border on the patronizing. Disabilities are a reality and not a trend to be capitalized upon. 1 in 5 people in Canada are disabled, the most common being mental illness. That means that you or someone you know experiences disability daily. When you disclose you have a disability, people can be curious and expect you to answer all their questions. Some people may feel bad for you. The thing is not everyone feels their disability is a detriment. They are not looking for a cure. They do not need your pity. Stigma towards disabilities prevents people from even trying to seek treatment. It is the mentality about disabilities that hold people back and not necessarily the disability. Equality is not about making everyone the same. Instead, it is important to make sure everyone has the resources available to be a functioning member of society. And oftentimes charities are fundamental in giving those opportunities. My point is often what we consider a disability is just a construct. And considering 1 in 5 people is disabled, it's difficult to even determine what is normal anymore. The Gothic subculture that emerged in the 80s is used to feeling different from the rest of society. Often identified by their clothing style, the Goth community has welcomed with open arms those who are outcasts. Unfortunately, people who identify as Goth have faced a lot of fear and persecution because of assumptions about the way they look, something that disabled people can likely relate to. In fact, mental illness is very visible in the Goth community. Not because being Goth makes you mentally ill or anything silly like that, it's just the stigma just isn't as common. This open-mindedness has allowed countless other Gothic subcultures to emerge. Despite the link between the two, there aren't any disability awareness brands that cater specifically to the alternative crowd. That's a problem Ragsnarok intends to resolve. So what in the world does any of this have to do with the Vikings? The common attitude towards Vikings is that they were bloodthirsty medieval pirates from Scandinavia. Although that view has dominated, Viking society is a lot more sophisticated than what they did on their summer vacations. Take, for example, Egil Skallagrimson, a famous Viking who could vomit on demand but also wrote some of the most beautiful love poetry you've ever heard. It's that juxtaposition that fascinates me about the Vikings, and this dichotomy extends to their religious beliefs as well. The Vikings were polytheistic, meaning they had many gods. Unlike the single perfect omnipresent God like Christianity or Islam, the Vikings had specific gods for specific purposes. They were exceptional and powerful, but far from perfect. They experience real human problems like death and old age. They can get hurt, and they know that inevitably they will die in a series of cataclysmic events and inspiration for my project, Ragnarok. I have chosen 4 gods to depict with 4 coinciding charities. Odin will help the blind, Heimdall will help the deaf, Loki will help those who struggle with addiction, and Tyr will help those who have lost limbs. First, take what knowledge you have from Marvel Comics and throw it in the trash. To keep it simple, Odin and Loki are brothers. Odin is wise, but can also be tricky. Loki is clever, but he can take the joke too far. Generally, everybody loves Odin, but not always Loki. This isn't a case of good versus bad, it's just the natural order of their universe. Odin is missing an eye. He plucked it out himself in exchange for wisdom. Loki is impulsive and he drinks too much. He is often responsible for most of the drama and not afraid to call people out on their faults. Heimdall is the watchman. He protects the realm of the gods and keeps sight of intruders. He can see farther than anything, but he's hard of hearing and uses his horn to amplify sound. Tyr is Odin's son and a brave warrior, but his arm was bitten off by Loki's hellspawn Fenrir. How he gave birth to a wolf is a whole other story, but he is still regarded as a force not to be messed with. Mythology was how people came to terms with reality and their place in the universe. They were stories to help us learn and understand before we had scientific achievement and organized religion. Paganism has long since been replaced in the mainstream, but I believe we could still learn a thing or two from the Norse pantheon. Despite their physical or mental disabilities, they are not regarded as weak or lesser in society. They are not just worthy of our respect, they are worshipped as gods. Therefore, the Norse gods are the perfect stigma-annihilating subject matter for my thesis project Ragsnarok. Warrior wear for when you feel like your world is ending. Thanks, guys.